Welcome back to the Peace Build. My name is Nicholson, and this is a channel where I like to speak on developing human character to help navigate your way through reality. And the way I see it, this is a beautiful video game. And just like any video game, there's a map, there are goals, there are obstacles, and there are ways to level up. So I sit here and talk to do just that, to rise through the various levels of life. This is the third part of the third chapter of this online book of Evolving Your Path. The first chapter was about building your foundation. The second was on finding your way. This third one is about how to continue along your way once you find it. And what keeps most people from finding their path and evolving their path once they found it is anxiety. And this gets confused with fear. Anxiety is when your attention is oscillating between here and a present that you are planning for yourself that is adverse to your situation. Hey, are you good? And a past that you have got stuck on because it has left such a strong impression on you that you believe it will happen in the future. Instead of being here, you're over here or over there. But fear is something different. Fear is when you have an existential knowing that you might die. And the only way I know this is because I had a personal experience with this about 3 years ago, something I will never forget. And I will share in a story right now. So at the time, I was with my ex-girlfriend at the beautiful Shenandoah National Park. And for those of you who don't know, it's bear country. So maybe not during the day, because I didn't see them, but definitely at night, there's bears that roam around the area. These are apex predators. And I had nothing to defend myself. But I turned out fine. I have all my limbs intact right now. So we got there really late, after dark, and the pitch is so dim that I can't even see my hand in front of me if it was like this. And we use our iPhone lights, we set up the tent, and we get ready for bed. The atmosphere is so quiet because there's no machines. There's no noise of the metropolis. There's only an ambience of the wilderness, which is exactly what we wanted. And in the thick of the night, and the thick of the silence, at about 3 a.m., I hear a scratching on my tent. I'm sitting down like this. On the right side, I hear. And Then I hear a large breath. And immediately, my instincts told me, that's a bear. And then I look to my left, she's sound asleep, and I wake her up and I say, there's a bear. There's a bear. There's an apex predator that is right there. So at this point in time, I am petrified. I've never been in that situation of being that close to a predator. I've watched many shows on TV. I've seen many images of photographs of bears, but I have never felt the presence of such a large creature like that in my entire life. So in this instance, the comfort of being at the top of the food chain was gone. The bear was here, I was right here. And this is because we got there so late that we neglected to put the food in the bear cage where you're supposed to put it. We put it inside the tent. So the bear was very curious about what was going on in our tent. And at this point in time, my mind is going all over the place, thinking of terrible ideas, of thinking we should run to the car, we should zip up the tent, we should just do something to get out of this situation. Because I felt so helpless. The only thing I thought would be helpful was to create something in my mind about how to change the situation. Well, obviously that didn't work. And I stayed put. And I realized as I settled into the experience that the best thing I could do was pay attention. And the body and the mind naturally do this when you are in a state of fear. Because it's not just in your mind, it is actually moving through your nervous system. It is a survival mechanism that when you're in the face of real danger, your body will transform into a form that is ready to sprint, ready to fight. You can see clearer. You can hear things a lot sharper. Everything is heightened in your senses. And I was in this state for roughly 4 to 5 hours, which gives me the qualifications to speak about this subject. There was no sense of thinking back to the past or thinking forward into the future. There was a sense that I have to be right here so I can make a move in a split second if I have to. So throughout the night, I'm just sitting like this, very still, very much paying attention to what's around me. I realized that attention is not only a faculty of knowledge, but it is also a form of protection. If you watch creatures like cats, dogs, even if you go out into the semi-wilderness like this, you'll see cows and foxes and things like that. You'll notice that when they sense you, they're looking directly at you. They don't waver in their attention. They're not up in their brains. They're fully in their bodies in the moment. And this makes you prepared. So this is what was happening to me. Throughout the night, I heard owls hooting. I heard branches cracking on the soil. I heard my bag being shifted by a bear's nose on the ground. But eventually, I got through that night. My ex-girlfriend and I and we survived. And I was so happy to have lived after that. I had never been that close to a situation where I could have got torn apart. And the thrill of that, of swinging from a near-death situation all the way back to safety, was a little intoxicating, if I'm honest. And I see this is why people do things like hang gliding, parasailing, jumping out of planes, because they want to experience that adrenaline of getting so close to the other side. But after I experienced that, I never wanted to do it again. So that was fear. Something that puts you more into the present, not something that takes you away. So anxiety is something that I've experienced many times in my life. Mostly with people. Ironically, because now this is what I do most of the time. I engage with people. But I noticed that my anxiety came from my lack of attention. It was the fact that I was investing my energy into thinking about how they might think of me instead of simply paying attention and responding to what's in front of me. You are actually in a less safe position to be anxious because you're opening yourself up to chaotic energy. As I said, attention is like a protective force, and it not only protects you from predators in your physical environment, but it also protects you from energies that are scattered. So just like a laser, if it's coherent and it's focused, it can go straight in one direction and nothing can tamper with it. In fact, if you try to interact with something like this, you'll get stung. So this keeps the beam in a safe position. But if the energy of your attention is scattered all over the place, you will begin to invite more and more disorder, more and more incoherence. Things like anxiety, as I said, but this can fall into depression, this can fall into psychosis, this can fall into all kinds of disorders that make you incapable of being stable and competent on this planet. For me, the main thing that dissolved my anxiety was simply understanding that this expression that I'm giving out into the world is not me. It's a tool that I can use to interact with other people. This is a changing, finite vessel. No matter what we try to do to try to find a sense of completeness in the physical world, to try to bring it to a stop, it can't happen. And I realized that the search for wholeness here in the world will never happen. In fact, whatever you do in the world, you will always feel like something's missing, no matter what you do. When I get up and speak, there's a sense that something is missing. When I drive to this location, there's a sense that something's missing. When I speak to someone, there's a sense that something's missing. But this is a natural experience because we are spiritual beings. That fraction of us that's missing is actually the mystery, the unseen. So if you're able to be conscious of this at all times and bring this into your moment now, the anxiety you have will release. But you have to be in tune with that first. And you can do that through meditation, through eating right, through understanding the different layers of existence. Self-exploration. Perfection is truly an illusion. And if you walk out into the world and try to be this perfect, polished person that is complete, that has nothing missing, then this will likely cause even more anxiety to begin with. But if you come back to your center and you see that the perfection lies in your ability to see clearly, that's it. The sense of being undivided is actually in your ability to focus. Your ideas of perfection, your people-pleasing, your oscillations between the past and the future, all of those things will go away. One of the counterintuitive things that I learned on this path that deals with anxiety is that the better you can see in the dark, the more you will be able to see in the light. So if you close your eyes in meditation and you become clear on what's going on here, you're seeing in the dark. When you open your eyes, your attention has become that much more sharpened to the point where there will be no room for anxiety whatsoever. There will only be room for that beam of light that you are sharpening in the dark. Even the sun that comes from the void. There are pictures of when the Buddha was meditating in the forest and he achieved enlightenment. He's sitting there still, calm, and there are things in his vicinity, not a bear, but there's a picture of him that's surrounded by 3 women. One of them has music, one of them has food, and the other one has cloth, something like that. And because the Buddha is a man, he has senses, all of those are things that could pull him off his center very quickly if he found more attraction to what was outside himself than the attraction within. So it's often that things that are in the light are what distract us from paying attention to the dark. Things that are on the surface distract us from paying attention to what's beneath. We have been conditioned to be afraid of the dark. And this is why I believe so many of us are experiencing anxiety when it's not warranted. Enlightenment, contrary to the term, actually happens in the dark. It should be called endarkenment. when you're able to face this darkness that is always there, that missing piece that is always there, the sense that not everything is here in this moment that brings you anxiety, that will be gone. So this is all I have here for today on this topic. If you found value in this video, in this channel, leave a like, subscription, comment, really helps with the growth. If you're in a place of intense anxiety and you feel like you can't get a grip, I do one-on-one consultations. You can start those through the link in my bio. If this is of interest to you, I would love to speak with you. I've spoken with people from all around the world, and it is mostly from people who are experiencing anxiety. So whether it's through using me as a tuning fork or using me as a soundboard to organize your mind as you would like, you can begin that process through the link in my bio. And with that, I will see you on the next episode of The Peace Built. Peace.